So I never started a show before all by myself. And Jackie just had to step away for a second. I was like, I don't know what to do, but it's going to be so fun to do it. So welcome to Teacher Talk. It looks like we've got one guest who's kind of checking us out. Not really sure. But yeah, today what we wanted to do was spend a little bit of time talking about, we know school is cranking up, and some districts have only just decided what their plan was for the year, or it was going to be, go back, and now they're realizing that's a terrible plan based on our community. So everyone's just trying to figure it out. And we are kind of, that's how it feels here at Brain Buffet. We're just trying to figure things out too. Hey Rat, how's it going, brother? It's good to see you, man. So I really love this. I love this platform we've got here. We're using StreamYard to run these. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's just a super exciting time for the company. And honestly, I don't think I ever even saw this as a company. I still saw it as my classroom. I still saw it as sort of a volunteer thing in many ways. And lately it's been really cool just recognizing the resources that we have, and with this new team that we have, all these neat assets, but it's requiring me to shift my way of thinking in such big and drastic ways that I don't know exactly how to do it. And frankly, it's a bit scary sometimes, and I know that that's how a lot of you guys feel as well. And when Jackie and I got thrown into our first classrooms, that's how we felt. Like, gosh, can you imagine being a first-year teacher this year? Like, everything, even the terrible information they give you in college classes about what it's like to be a teacher in the classroom, none of that ever panned out that way. But you felt like you had an idea, and there was at least a classroom to go to. The new teachers this year don't even have a classroom. Like, everything that they prepped for literally is different. So,
hi,
hey, Jack. Hey.
I'm here.
I was just trying to empathize with teachers who, how do you make a plan for this? Or teachers that heard they were going back, and then now it's fully online, and they had to shift gears in a week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what about a first-year teacher? I was just thinking about that, like zero experience, and then everything. Like, we know that you go into the classroom as a first-year teacher, and you're like, none of the stuff they said in college has anything to do with reality, but it still was information that kind of helped you go, okay, I see how I can still use the information, like 10% of it this way.
Yeah, well, so I think that college only prepares you so much. And then it's like parenting, right? So like, people tell you before you have kids, it will change your life. It's so different, and and then you're like, I got this. And then you get there, and then you're like, I don't got this. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no clue. Like, I don't know what's going on. And I mean, so our district, I don't know what's happening in your district, Rob, but our district has decided to go fully online, which cool. I mean, like, it's one of the three, right? Fully online, in class, or hybrid. But there's a but for me, is that it's they're expecting the students to be on the computer for 6 hours. So like, our school is either 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. or 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. And I have young kids. Like, I have young kids who can't really ever sit through a movie. Like, like, they can't sit through a movie without like getting the, like, I have to get out of, so they get antsy is the best word, I think, to describe it on an online forum. And so I think we decided, my husband and I decided, since I was a teacher, that I could try to homeschool.
It seemed like a great idea.
So I feel like I'm back in my first year teaching, because I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never homeschooled before. Yeah, it's a smaller classroom size, but the kids already know me. There's no grace period. There's no like getting to know your kids, and they're already like,
And the curriculum's totally different.
Yeah, I mean, the curriculum, at least I'm going into this knowing a little more than I did with Photoshop. Like with Photoshop, I knew nothing other than the name of Photoshop. I at least know, like, I know my ABCs.
Already.
I know how to read.
True,
I know my numbers, but I don't necessarily know how to teach those things. Like, I mean, I have a curriculum, so thankfully I have a curriculum, and it helps when you have a curriculum and when you know what you're doing, which hopefully that's what we're providing for people who are in this situation. And this is their first year having to teach digitally. So having the curriculum helps a lot. But
yeah. And that's been, and Rat's actually saying nice things about it. I want to put it out. Thank him for his compliment. But he says he thinks that our classroom is reaching beyond our own classrooms and helping other creative teachers and students learn the tools. Kudos for that. Thanks, Rat.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It is. And there's been a lot of talk lately, the last week, about where does Brain Buffet stand on this issue, that issue, that issue? What's our perspective on this? What's our stance on that? And there is a lot of soul searching that goes into all of it. There's a lot of, you do have to make compromises. When you're dealing with 10 different personality types, there's compromises. There's things that are really important to me that I recognize a lot of teachers will never use. Like all my weird hippie stuff, it worked in my classroom because I'm me and the weird vibe that went on in my room, but it's not going to work for everybody. And to try and shove it down other people's throats the way I used to was a little bit unkind. And so there's been a lot of self-reflection for me. And then also, what really are we? What do we really believe is the most important thing about teaching this stuff, about being a teacher, period, about the ACA certification, about understanding Photoshop? And they're almost like educationally existential questions.
Yeah.
It's been fun. It's challenging. It's been challenged me a lot. A lot of self-reflection and kind of, oh boy, okay, I am a little bit.
Well, and that's even just discussions between you and me, because you and I taught so differently. You and I we had a lot of the same beliefs as far as the classroom experience, but the way we presented it and taught within our classrooms was different because we're different.
Yeah. And then seeing that and seeing the benefit that you bring to the company also from that perspective, it's just it literally never would have happened that we had lesson plans and worksheets and stuff if it weren't for you. Literally never. If it were just this dude still doing everything.
Well, because you didn't use those things in your classroom. You were like, well, why do we need those? I'm like, I wouldn't have survived without mine.
My kids. With your kids, I probably would have seen a lot of the benefit.
Yeah. It was just what worked for us. So it's almost like you fall into this what works for you bubble, and you get so this is what works, and we're not going to try, we're not going to see outside this bubble. But then you see, oh, well, that's working for somebody else. Let me see if I can try that. And I think Ratmani, to go back into the homeschooling, Ratmani asked me, do I find it hard to separate from being a parent and the teacher when it comes to homeschooling? So this is my 4th day.
So she's a pro.
So obviously I know exactly what I'm doing. And it is, luckily, I'm very, very fortunate to have friends that are also doing this. We decided kind of as a group to say, okay, we're not going to send them to the traditional school this year. We're going to try to homeschool all together, and we're going to lean on each other, which I think is the biggest help. And I have a friend who actually has already homeschooled her kids. Her kids are 1 year ahead of mine. So she's been giving, I've been calling her nonstop, what do I do now? What do I do? Did you see how I did this? This still we'll get back to that. So what I've been told and what I am experiencing is that there is that hurdle, and there is that transition of going from parent to teacher, because the kids know me already. The kids know how to push my buttons. The kids know what to expect when I say certain things. So there's no, the boundaries are different. than it would be in like a traditional, like in, you know, in your first few days of real, like actual school, when you're with kids that are not your own, they're all quiet and you don't know who's who yet. And you're like, we're just going to get through this first week. And then they start coming out of their shell and, oh,
no, I wanted to do you.
Oh,
make
is it?
You go, make you go big for me.
But
my eyes keep freaking out.
It's just you though.
I know. I tried to make it go just you. I don't know how to do it.
You're funny. So that being said, it's,
oh my God,
that's the difference, is that there's no grace period. So we're still, like in my house, we're still trying to figure out what the best way to present everything is to because my kids, they're only in kindergarten. So it's, you know, they've never been to like normal school. They've been to preschool, but preschool is totally different than like kindergarten. So I'm trying to let him make some decisions. Like, do you want to work now or do you want to take a break? And do you want to, you know, I'm trying really hard to be more patient because like I said, they already know how to push the buttons for mama. They're like, well, I don't want to do that. I'm like, cool. Now. So then I'm going to put on a timer for like 5 minutes to give you a break. And then we're going to come back to it. So it's a lot of trying different things and seeing what works, which is kind of what a lot of my first year of teaching was. You throw something against a wall, see what sticks and what doesn't. You're like, meh, okay, we won't do that again. So,
and that's kind of how it always is. I think the thing that worked for us so well was that it was always that way. It was,
right.
Let's try something new. Like it worked pretty good last year, but a little tweak. And it's, you know, it is scary when you had a year where everyone pats you on the back. It is hard to change after that.
Right.
But for me, the kind of blessing and curse of being a Rob Schwartz is that you can't stand to do anything twice the same way.
Yeah.
It could be the best program in the universe, and that's okay. We're still going to dismantle the whole thing and start over completely again next year and just see what happens.
Right.
You know?
And
yeah.
As long as there's no parent-teacher conference, that'd be arguing with yourself. I feel like parent-teacher conferences are much easier because I'm also the principal. So, and there's no parent-teacher conferences without at least a glass of wine involved. So,
good for you. Yeah.
So if I have to have a parent-teacher conference, it's more of a mommy needs a glass of wine first, then we'll circle back to this.
Yeah, the freedom that comes with all of this.
Yeah,
is like a cool. I was talking to David about this morning, our web developer. He's a former student, and he seems to engage with problems really differently than I do, and I'm envious of how he does it because. I remember one time we were talking about, the businesses and I'm like, well, what if it gets audited? What if we're not doing anything? What if we're doing something wrong? And he's like, I welcome that. He's like, we'll learn. Maybe they'll go, look, you guys did great. As a matter of fact, you overpaid here. Here's $10,000 back. Like, it's unlikely, but it's also unlikely that we'll get into a situation where we find that we owe $50,000 or $100,000 or even $10,000. Mm-hmm. It's really unlikely. So all the time I spend worrying about it and obsessing about it, he's just like, we go forward with as much integrity and truth and as good as we can, and we try to follow all the rules and try to take advantage of every little advantage we have. If it's a relationship or cool technology we found that is underutilized, and then we try it. And I realized my problem is that I try and figure out the whole journey before I take a step.
Yeah.
And you can try that, but then the weather changes. Or like last year, teachers had lesson plans for the whole year. COVID happens. Now what?
Right.
That's a smarter way to live is a day at a time.
Well, and I think in this environment, it's probably really the only way to do it, because if you plan for there's no way to plan for the whole year with COVID, because things could, look at Florida, for instance. We were fine, I think. And then we started opening things back up, and now, we are where we are.
Yeah. We're number one.
Weird thing to be okay. Yeah. But
we are the best at COVIDing.
Yeah, I mean, they feel like, it's so difficult to plan. And I know that if you're a teacher like me, that's all you want to do because that's I think where I really was a strength in teaching was I was really good at planning. Like, this is how it should be laid out. This is where these pieces need to go. This is how we're going to implement them. And I think that's kind of even what I bring to the table for Brain Buffet. I think that that's just my mindset. I'm usually very good at compartmentalizing, like this goes here, 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 here. And it's hard to do that in a COVID environment because there's so many variable factors that you have no control over.
Yeah.
So I get it. If you're watching out there and you're in that situation and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, because I think I have to constantly remind myself, especially recently with the homeschooling stuff, that I'm not the only person in the world dealing with this. Like, I'm unique just like everybody else.
Yeah.
So you just have to take a step back. I think take a deep breath. Everything's going to be good this year. Even if it's your least best year, it's still the best that you could do in the environment that you're doing it in.
Yep. And what else is there?
Yeah. I mean,
we can all wish for a world where you could be invisible and transport yourself places, and that would be awesome. Yeah. But since it doesn't exist, then you might as well learn to drive.
Right. And there's no real, there's no bar. Like, in a regular situation, there are bars that are set because it's just how everything's always been done. But it's quite literally never been done the way the world, this is never, our generations have not seen anything like this. I know there was the Spanish flu 100 years ago that was kind of similar, but our generation hasn't seen something like this. And even 100 years ago, they didn't have a digital, there was no digital anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Photoshop was early beta.
So, yeah, I mean, Photoshop was what, like a pen and pencil, right?
It was, dirt in a stick.
Come a long way in 100 years.
Yeah, big progress.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess this is just our I need an inspirational pep talk. So I'm trying to do it for everybody else too. It's going to be fine. The kids will be the kids are going to be fine. You as the teacher are going to be fine. Your kids are going to be fine if you have kids that are going to the school. We're all I feel like everybody is like, oh, our kids are going to fall behind, but it's like, fall behind of what? I mean, we're not unique. This is not only happening in one little area. This is happening worldwide. Yeah. So who are the kids falling behind of?
Yeah. That's
the standards we've set for them. Sorry, I'm getting on the soapbox. Yeah.
No, that's you know what? I hadn't even thought of it from that perspective. That's really, that is interesting. How, that's what we do. Like humans, that's what we are. We're story-making machines.
Yeah.
And we've got this story about things being better and worse. That's usually the only thing that's better or worse, is what we call better or worse.
Right. I mean, it's all subjective. Like, we can make this the best thing that we can, or we can make this the most horrid thing that we can. And it's, you choose. And I always told my kids, you choose the path you walk on. So sometimes the path is rockier. Obviously, the elements around the path are going to change and the variables around it are going to change. But you can either look at it with the best intentions, or you can boohoo about it. And believe me, I boohoo about it a lot, but I try to get over the boohooing and go, okay, now what? What can we do?
Yeah, I think boohooing is actually our own built-in I need wine indicator. I need 15 minutes of silence and or food and or wine.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what I need, but it's something
else.
And
I always feel like boohooing is cathartic the right word? Is that what I'm trying to say? It's every time I boohoo, I always feel like that pressure is it's like that release of energy. And then I'm like, okay, I need to stop. I need to go freshen up. I need to splash water on my face. And then I need to tackle this with a better, now that I've gotten that out of my system, I need to buckle down and figure this out. So Will you be posting like of our talk right now? Yes, it's live and it is recorded. It will be on YouTube.
Yeah, as soon as it's live now, and then it just automatically
Yeah.
becomes recorded somehow with
Yeah.
internet voodoo. We don't understand, but it's awesome.
Yeah. So yes, our live chats are all on YouTube in a playlist that are called Teacher Talks. So yes, if you need
Another thing
inspiration.
that never would have got done if it was up to this guy.
Yeah. Well, no, that's not true because we've been talking about doing this for a while and neither one of us have done it because, we haven't. And
Because I'm a big chicken.
no, no.
That's always what it is with me. I'm afraid I won't do it perfectly. And that's what
Yes, I do find your
They're
hurdle.
all-
Your hurdle is very much perfection. Your
Yeah.
hurdle is very much if it's not perfect, it's not going to go out there. And I'm like, how do we know it's not perfect? Just throw it out there. And if it's not perfect, we'll find out pretty quickly and just fix it and do it again. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's really like that call I had with Dave was he was saying, if you get audited, all it is like it's like going to a doctor for a checkup. He checks the blood and then you look at it, just like, looks great. He's like, it's just as likely to be that as anything else. Nobody's trying to identify you as sick. There's no kid out there trying to tank you in your classroom. If anything, there might be a kid trying to make it so he doesn't have to do work and he thinks shaking things up out there will do that for him. But with digital stuff, it's so
and I mean, there are always going to be kids that test their boundaries.
Yeah. And then just like there's got to be a way, really disruptive. It's just like, you know what? Go to the office is log that dude off. He's out of the room.
Hey,
now.
You want to know a benefit of teaching digitally?
Huh.
You can mute a kid.
There you go. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
See?
And
Yeah,
I bet you can mute him and turn his camera off.
Yeah, I mean, in Zoom, can't you like mute everybody and they can't like you can just mute people and be like,
do you remember being in the classroom and you remember being in a classroom and you're a kid, you're just like, dude, this is it. No, this is it. Stop.
Yeah.
No, don't say any more words. Now you have total control over that. There's just literally a button.
Mute. Look at button mute. That's how I would do it.
No more.
I'd be like, I would put them on the screen and then put just a big finger like, nope. Nope. Not today.
Yeah. I think, look, guys, everybody is stressed about this. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
But you can just look at it in a whole nother light of nobody knows what's going on. So my guess is literally as good as anybody else's.
Right. And everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah.
Every teacher in your district is in the same boat.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you were somehow teaching online before this, I mean, not like using like what Rob and I had, because even Rob and I were teaching online, but we were still physically in the classroom with the kids. So it's what you guys are all feeling and experiencing right now is different than what, like when Rob and I moved into digital teaching, it was by choice. And we were still in the classroom with the kids. It wasn't, if a kid was absent from your class, you had like resources and ways to find them. And I can't wrap my brain around being a teacher right now. And God bless you if you're a first year teacher. It's not always like this.
Yeah.
And it does get easier. I mean, as you teach, it does get easier. And digital teaching will get easier. As I'm sure, as we all get used to it and it happens, you'll be put back in the building. And then there will be, they'll shake the glass again and stir everything up again. So.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, in my teaching career and in my life, I've recognized now that the things that seemed like the worst things ever, the curriculum fails with my two little girls, the pumpkins and princess thing, Jesse Valinsky raising his hand and saying, we're going to ever, like all of those things seem so terrible. Getting put in that lab where Valinsky was when I knew there was no curriculum, nothing was ready. Like it's a very similar experience to what you guys have. It's just like, here's a room that literally nobody's ever taught in.
Right.
We've pumped up this whole thing about how this is going to be the best program in the universe. And I was only supposed to write a quarter of it, but I didn't have to be in that mess. I
Right.
was just helping the guy think some ideas up. And then that dude became me, and nothing else was done. It seemed scary, but once I let go and just said, what am I actually working with? And let me work together with the kids to figure it out. And Jack, you did the same thing. I think that's why we
Mhm.
connect.
Yeah.
You cooperate with the kids in figuring it out.
Right.
Let them tell you, when they tell you, hey, teacher, this sucks and it's not working, don't fight with them about it. Don't be ashamed of that. Just go, I'm so confused.
Yeah.
You guys have any ideas? I just don't know how to do it as a teacher. And you guys, hey, students, history students, you're going to grow up and be in a job one day where the boss asks you to do something, you don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
How do you approach those kind of problems? Because that's how I'm feeling. And have real human talks
Right.
rather than about a bunch of dead guys and what date they were born. Have a conversation for 15, 20 minutes about how to human, and then figure out how human together. And then when you build a cool little system together, it's pretty easy to just go, okay, well, now we're going to human while we talk about dead guys.
Right.
That's
Well,
all.
and in high school, especially, I feel like because kids are coming into their own person and like personalities and everything, it's important for us to treat them like young adults and not kids. I know they are still kids, obviously, and especially in their freshman year, they're also
So am I.
little and cute. But
Let's face it, though, so am I.
but I feel like I always had that approach in my class. I never had the I'm the authority figure and you're the whatever. Like, and I know that some teachers kind of get in that mindset, or just people in general, not just teachers. People get in that mindset of like, I'm the boss, and it's like.
Yeah.
The kids, I feel like the teachers that present themselves that way, always, those are the kids that will test you, will definitely test you if that's the mindset you have in that classroom. And I can tell you one time, I distinctly remember this. One time I had a kid in the first day, and I'm like up there, and I'm, I don't know anybody yet. They don't know me yet. This was the first level class, and the kid is just not having it. For whatever reason, he did not want to be in that chair. And I was like, dude, can you like go wait outside so I can finish my thought? Because it's distracting. It's like you're trying to say something, and then all of a sudden you've got like whatever's going on. So I was like, can you just like wait outside for me real quick? And he, of course, and it, like stomped his feet outside. I was like, and I walked outside, and instead of yelling at him, I was like, okay, did I do something to upset you? He was like, what? I'm like, did I do something to upset you? Did I say something offensive? I'm just trying to check the boxes here to figure out why you had an outburst. And he was like, well, no, I guess something had happened in the period before my class, right? So it was like in that transition period, and something had happened. And I said, okay, is there something I can do to help you fix that? And he was like, well, no. And I said, okay. So then why are you taking it out on me in my class? I said, we don't know each other. Because he thought for some reason in his mind, I think he was like, well, you're mad at me for something. I'm like, meh. I said, I sent you out of the classroom because you're a distraction. I said, you can come back into the classroom if you're not going to be a distraction. But you and I have to have an understanding where if I'm talking, you got to be respectful. I will respect you in the same way you respect me. And you have to start that, because right now, I don't know what's going on in your head. And then, he and I actually had like a good 5-10 minute solid conversation about, what the expectations are. And, as long as we're respectful of each other, then we're good. But please don't disrespect me for no reason. I mean, if I gave you a reason, that's different. But anyway, so I was like, what are we going to do? What do you want to do? Do you want to go back inside the classroom, or what do you want to do? And he was like, yeah, I want to go back inside. I said, cool. Let's go. So then I kid you not, no problems for the rest of the year. And then he signed up for Tech 2.
Yeah, I know.
So, and it
a
just
little bit of respect goes a long way. That's all it is.
Yeah. So,
Rat, and I don't remember what I even said, but he said he agrees. I've told students I don't know the answer right now, but I'll try to find it. Yeah, about like that know-it-all attitude.
yeah.
Or if my kids give me to it, I welcome it. And I always give extra credit. I'm like,
Me
if
too.
you find the answer faster than me, I will race you. And if you win, then you get extra credit. And if
Yeah.
I win, then, you bring me a drink from lunch. You make some stupid thing. You got to
Right.
draw me a picture of how cool I look.
Right.
Just whatever. Draw me the trophy that I just won from you.
It depended how snarky I was that day. Because if I was not snarky, that's how I would handle it. If I was snarky, I went to that "Let me Google it for you" site, and I'd be like, "Let me Google that for you," and then I would go there, and I was like, "Here you go," and then they'd be like, "Miss Cole, seriously?" Like,
yeah.
And
I used to send those occasionally to customers. I apologize. You can see why there were some bumps in the road. I just thought it was funny, but there were some people that took a lot of offense.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom. Jackie's in charge. That's why Jackie's in charge. You just don't want this guy in charge. Let me talk, but don't let me make a decision about it. That's the best plan.
Let's see. That's the best approach. I agree. Sometimes kids come to our class with weight we may not even know. Yeah, that's so true. My gosh. Changes the energy of the class and definitely the kid with that method and giving them choices. I 100% agree. I learned very quickly in the first year of teaching, don't ask questions you don't want the answers to, because you just, and that wasn't sometimes it did ask because it was important to know, but sometimes kids are open books and you're like, oh, okay. And then you're like, oh, I don't know how to even move forward with some of the information some of the kids would offer up. I was like, let me pick my jaw up off the floor and I'm going to go process that information over here and we'll come back to it. So yeah, it's true. And sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I've had some of those experiences too, where there's a big part of you, your teacher brain and your teacher training goes, stomp that out right now.
Right.
But sometimes when you do, you come back being just as, and even sometimes more inappropriate than that child was.
Right.
When you respond out of your,
Feelings,
bubbling over emotions. Yeah.
Right.
And just to take, 2 minutes of just and sometimes where I got to near the end was I would just go up to that kid and I'd just say, I'd like to have a real chat with you about what just happened, but I would love it if you could go get a drink of water at the water fountain, go to the bathroom, just take 5 minutes, shake it off a little bit. I'm going to do the same because I'm worried that we're going to start, butting heads. And I just don't want to do that with you today.
Right.
Yeah. And they really respect that. It goes a long way. That kind of thing goes a long way with kids.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at home with my kids, I say, mommy needs a timeout. Mommy needs a timeout. You need to just go watch a show or something. Let mommy just refocus herself, and then we can get back to that, whatever that might be.
And what a cool lesson to show really what the whole timeout thing really is about. It really is. It's something you can use. It's not punishment. It's literally, just let the emotions kind of fade off a bit.
Right. It's quite literally a time out to stop. And what I always found, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's perfect.
I told Rob before we went on this call, I'm a little bit all over the place today. So I apologize if that's how it's coming off. But I find that as well. It's quite literally just a way to just, as adults, when you're having an argument with somebody who is also an adult, you should hopefully just be able to say, okay, we need to just walk away from this conversation. We're both too heated. We're both, we just need, especially in a relationship type of situation where you're just I need to stop and regather myself, and we can both come back to a place where we're discussing this in an adult conversation. And some of these kids have never had that role model. They've never had that, and it's unfortunate, but that's just some of their environments that, some of them, you don't know what their environment is at home. So us modeling that and just saying hey, let's take some time to calm down. And I would always ask my students to step outside. I know a lot of teachers do that to call security. That was used quite a lot. So I think that's why especially in that instance I just gave you, when I said to go stand outside, that student stomped off because they thought I was calling security to have them removed. And that wasn't the case. It was quite literally just so they can go outside and calm down. Just calm down. I'll calm down. Because, when you get like that, it's easy to get like flustered and frustrated. And so easily said.
I know. And I'll tell you, so I don't know if it's obvious to anybody. Jackie and I talk about it a lot. I don't know if I talk about it on the show, but I do a lot of like self-discovery stuff. And just lately, the thing that keeps coming up for me is meditation. And I'm not good at it because my brain's always racing. But I have found it like it could be a real beneficial thing of just when I do take my little timeouts, just in my mind going, I'm feeling all like wired and anxious about something. What am I anxious about? What do I think is the bad thing that's about to happen? And it's to just stop and have that thought, which I don't even think is meditation, but like it's what I'm doing. And I'm going, wow, I'm actually really mad about the bad paint job they did on the car. I'm really mad about, feeling helpless because of what's going on with this family member who's sick or whatever. And then then you just sort of get to a place of just like, what can I do about that right now?
Yeah.
What can I do about this? Ultimately, if I had infinite resources, is there anything I can do? No. Like there's just not.
Yeah.
And taking that time to just sort of, and then just go, okay, good. Then that means that I'm doing the best that can be done. Right. All that I can with all I can see right now. And I'll keep my eyes open for a solution. But until then, maybe instead of beating myself up, I'll just go doing the best I can.
Right.
You know
what? I think that's also important to know for the students too, because we were just talking to our local pediatrician, just because we were having a normal checkup or whatever. And they were like, you have to make sure that your kids, this COVID environment is causing anxiety for kids. And I was like, why? And like, just not even thinking about it. I was like, well, why? I mean, what do they have to be anxious about? They're sitting at home all day, like with mom and dad. And they're like, well, exactly. Because they're sitting at home. They're not doing their normal routine. They're not going to school. They're not socializing. They're in this bubble and and I was like, great. One more thing to put on my anxiety plate. Like, golly, like, okay.
And looking at mom and dad for security, and then what are mom and dad doing? Oh my God, what's going to happen next?
Yeah, like don't touch that. Don't put that at like. And I know I've done that.
Yeah,
like as a like jumpy, like, oh no, don't, where like that wouldn't normally be what I say. Like I wouldn't, like when we go to if I take my kids to a grocery store normally in a pre-COVID existing environment, I wouldn't freak out if they're touching anything because I'd just be like, just put it back. We don't need that. Just put it back. But I feel like the one or two times I've had to take my kids with me somewhere, I was so jumpy without even realizing I was jumpy. I was like, no, don't take your mask off. And, I mean, like, what do you do? It's like,
kids look to mom and dad for like, how safe is the world? And what they keep saying is not safe.
Right.
Seriously, it's not safe. So it's way worse than you thought it was last year with the monster under the bed. I'm not coming in the room anymore and going, look, honey, there's no monster. I'm coming in the room and going, you're right. It's there, it's everywhere, and it's invisible. Right.
And I mean, it's hard to explain it to two young kids because they don't understand viruses. We've tried to, I've Googled so many things on YouTube on how to explain a virus and things and, washing your hands and germs and stuff. But honestly, how well can a 4 or 5-year-old understand that? I mean, my 5-year-old repeats back to me sometimes. He's like, oh, we can't do it because like we used to go to Disney all the time and we don't anymore because of, what's going on. And my 5-year-old will go, because of the coronavirus. And I'm like, well, yes. Yes, that is the reason why we're not going. So he understands the words. I just don't know how much is like he's processing it. So we'll find out in future therapy.
Yeah, start saving now. So, and this was from earlier. I'm sorry I didn't get up earlier, but he was talking about, I think you're the let the kids blow it off and give some safe timeout thing. Sometimes kids come to our class with weight we don't even know.
Right.
That's a huge one. It
Right.
changes the energy in class and the kid when we treat them like humans rather than problems.
Right.
At the end of the day, let's face it, all of us just wanted to be seen as
Right.
a human who makes mistakes, but we are not the problem
Right.
or in ourselves a problem.
And I think
Let's,
some of us just want to like seen and heard, like want to be heard
yeah,
and respected. And
especially high school kids, when
oh
we're
gosh, yeah.
saying grow up and be an adult, but then we treat them like children.
Ah,
And yeah, it's such a weird time with all these conflicting messages.
yeah.
Grow up and do exactly what I say. Well, wait a minute. You're the grown up and you're giving the orders. How come I have to?
I'm gonna make a poster like that.
Huh?
I'm gonna make a poster that says that.
I mean, it's you don't see it.
Yeah.
It's, the lens you see through is invisible to you.
Yeah.
I can't see my own lenses that focus my eyes. I can't see them because they're the lens by which I see everything else.
Right.
Our
And
weird quirks and personalities and hangups and insecurities, that's our lens.
right. Well, and that's what causes most disagreements is, you're unable to or you don't want to see the other person's point of view. And that happens, I think, a lot in classrooms because the teacher either presents the stuff and you're not going to get along with all of your students all of the time. That's just a given. I mean, it's just, not something that happens naturally. And some relationships in the classroom take a lot more work than others. I mean, there were some students, and I'm sure you were the same way, Rob, where they walked into the room and you were like this right away. And you were like, yep, cool. Let's move you closer to me so that I can make fun of you and we can have fun and it'll be great. And then there were some kids who were more reserved or were very quiet and very, didn't really engage. And you're like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So, yeah, I don't know what I was.
Felt so bad because I was like, I should be able to connect with all of them on their way there, and it's just like some of the
that's
time
not the real world.
And they just show you, hey, look, this is me, and you can grab me by here or here or here. They show you all the handles that you can grab to kind of, all right, good, I can help you out.
In a hypothetical sense.
Yeah. All right, metaphorical. And then there's other kids who are just like, I'm not going to tell you a thing about how to connect with me. I'm not going to tell you a thing about where you can, I know you need to tow my truck down this pedagogical street. I'm not going to show you where you can safely connect. You figure it out.
Right.
And a lot of times because they don't even know.
That's true.
Or they're so worried about, some crazy thing that you and I would be weeping or freaking out about or scared to death. And this kid's coming in, holding it together 90% of the way. And we literally would not be able to handle what that kid's dealing with.
Right.
All of that is just grace and kindness to other people,
And this is where I think that, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So Monty says, I continuously work on modeling a wonderful, weird, and fun learning environment, especially with the social and emotionally learning. Yes. Yep. And that's all we can try to do. We can, you're not going to, what Rob and I actually talk about a lot is you're not going to reach every student. That's what we all strive for. That's the goal. But especially in this environment is going to be much tougher to read your audience, right? So that's what like in your classroom, you can read the vibe of the room, right? You can get a sense of who the kids are, who is the outspoken kid and who is the more reserved kid and who is, you just can get the vibe because you're standing in front of them. You're seeing how they interact with each other. You're seeing how they interact with you, whether they sit in the back of the room or the front of the room near the teacher's desk. There's so many nonverbal things you get from the classroom that you cannot get digitally. And I personally think that's going to be one of the biggest hurdles. I mean, you can put your curriculum online, you can do everything and prepare, but you're not going to get a sense for your kids if their camera is turned off and they're muted and all you're doing is talking at them. That's my soapbox for today.
Yeah. And I actually just want to show this really quick. Let me see if I can do this, Jackie. I'm going to try and.
Ooh, fancy. What are we doing? Oh, look at it. It's the fourth dimension. You
got the dress though?
Oh yeah, the what colors do you see or whatever that dress is?
So, and we talked about this, I feel like just the other day, but this has really been coming to my mind lately because there are people that will look at this photo. I see a golden white dress. there are people that will look at this photo and they see a black and white and blue dress.
Mm-hmm.
They literally see, and I can be going, dude, it's right in front of you. It's gold and white. And they're looking at it like, imagine what that kid's perspective is. Oops, sorry. But imagine what that kid's perspective is when it's the same thing. Like I'm saying something about classroom management, or I'm saying about how they need to engage. And I'm going, dude, it's so obvious. And they're literally like, I don't understand, you crazy person. You're pointing at a duck and saying, look at the elephant. And you want me to act like that's normal.
Right.
You know, like just to understand the different perspectives that we have sometimes from one another is such a kind and gracious thing to do, especially for teenagers who are trying to figure out how to be their own person.
Right.
You
And
know?
who are, trying to figure out what they're going to do. Because truthfully, like high schools where we ask these kids, and I feel like my perspective has really kind of changed on this as a parent, because I'm thinking about it in the respect of like in 10 years, people are going to start asking my child what they want to do with the rest of their life. And he's literally only been on the planet for 15 years. And some people don't figure it out until they're like 40, like, so
51.
yeah. I mean, like I don't know. I just feel like sometimes we put so much pressure on the young people of the future and just say, why don't you have your life figured out? Like, well, because most of us don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to gauge a kid virtually, yes, especially if you've been home since March. Yes, golly. Feels like an eternity. I miss my classroom a lot. The personality assessment has helped me in the past with comprehending kids. Yeah, that's what you use too, right, Rob? The Myers-Briggs?
Yeah, I always push that website, 16 Personalities, just because it's very easy and accessible and free.
Right.
There's a lot to all of it, but that's a great intro. It's just a great discussion starter.
Right.
Because even if you get the result back, and it's kind of like David with an audit, the result comes back and you're like, well, that's not me at all. Like, awesome. Look at, here's really clearly you going, I don't work this way. That's great information for me as a teacher.
Right.
I'll try something else rather than I will avoid that strategy with you. That's
right.
So yeah, really helpful. And parents love it too. I always made it extra credit. If the parents do it and the kids do it, then they all print out the first page and give me a thumbs up, a photo. That was extra credit. And just get mom and dad to see it. And then I hug the kid and I give them a thumbs up with mine. And it just does that mom and dad thing. And it's like, then when we meet, it's just kind of like, oh, I remember you from the weird picture. It just greases the skids on everything.
Oh, that's a good idea to have them do it with their parents because,
Yeah, because mom and dad are stressed. Anything you can do to get mom and dad being involved where they're happy,
right,
where they're having fun, where they gained something as a family, as an individual together.
Right.
Seriously, what could you possibly teach more important than that?
Right. And I mean, that's the other side of this right now is like in my county, every kid is a homeschooling kid right now, whether they're being taught, e-learning or whether they're doing their own homeschool curriculum. Every single student right now in my county is virtual. So they're all at home. So right now, mom and dad, if they are working parents, they are a working parent and a homeschooling parent because that's just what's happening. So yeah, I mean, and I'm sure that there are a bunch of teachers that are also trying to get their kids in school as well as teach other kids. And I'm getting anxious just talking about it. So I'm very grateful that I am in the position where my job is flexible and that I have a really
jerk though.
Yeah. What?
You said your boss is such a jerk.
Oh.
That guy's an ass.
But I'm very grateful that I work in an environment that's supportive of what I'm doing. And it's not the case for every parent. So keep that in mind as well, I feel like, as a teacher. I mean, I know that most of us are all doing the same thing. So it's not like it's not on the forefront of your minds, but just demographics.
I wrote in with I don't think we're going to even respond to that comment. So I don't know that demographics is destiny, but I do think that we need to take into consideration the unique experience that our students have that's different than ours. And the personality will help you see things as well from a perspective of, I like to gather a whole bunch of data. I don't like to make decisions. There are other people that like to make decisions and wrap it up, and they don't like to gather a bunch of data.
Mm-hmm.
Once you can see those two things together and how they sort of conflict, but then at the same time, like you and I, Jackie, they dovetail when you're talking together and with each other rather than at each other.
Right.
That's when the goodies really come out. That's when the synchronicity and the synergy starts to happen.
Right. So, sorry, you put it up and I put it down with, sorry. The question was to me, has your county addressed the needs of students that don't have access to hardwire, internet, or even for some kids access to food? Some kids relied on school for meals too. So in my area, I know that they've been doing meals for students that were on free or reduced lunch. And we have quite a number of students in this county that are on free and reduced lunch. Rob and I are in the Tri-County. Is that what we call each other? The Tri-County area? I don't know.
Yeah,
but we're in the three biggest counties in the state, one of the three biggest counties in the state. And there are a lot of students that are on that. And I don't really know what the program is called, but there has been an ongoing free meal program for families who are struggling during this time. And it's actually in between my house and where my mother lives. So I see it every time we drive by there, and it's always a humongous line. And my heart goes out to the people who are really feeling the effects of the environment that we're all in right now. So they have addressed that. They are doing it, thankfully. As far as the hardware and the internet and everything, they're not I don't know if they're going to provide that for first grade and kindergarten. I've seen emails from different school areas that are doing it for third grade and up. I don't know if it's going to, I don't really know. And once I made the decision to homeschool my kids, I had to let the school know. I had to withdraw my kids. And then I kind of haven't gotten any emails since then. So I'm kind of out of the loop as to what they're doing, but I know that they're doing the best that they can. They're doing the best that they can in the situation we're all in. It just wasn't the best decision for me to send my kids to, a 6-hour day online. Yeah. And that was my decision. If there's another person who's doing it, let me know how it goes, because who knows, maybe we'll go, who knows? Yeah. So, but
you're going to hear so much, we're going to wrap up here just in a couple of seconds, but yeah, we're going to be, just kind of thinking about the different perspectives, and you guys are going to be hearing a ton of different ways of approaching things. You're going to hear people pointing out one problem or the other. And you know what? Things are so much more complex than we give ground to. And that includes our students. That includes the school system itself. That includes the country. That includes individual humans. Yeah. Like, there's so much in this whole, one thing that I'm just realizing that kind of frustrates me personally is people that think they can see all the perspectives. Yeah. And they're so busy shutting down one to make their own visible. It's just like, well, if you stopped shutting down this one, then you might see it. But they're just so hooked on their one answer. Like that. What's that say to a hammer? Every problem looks like a nail, or every nail looks like a whatever. There are more than one way to solve the problem. And it's so much more complex than we know. And we need to talk with people rather than shout in all caps our perspective. Because it's just not helpful. It's disrespectful. It makes you look like an idiot. The best thing to do is to just sit back and go, help me understand what you're seeing that it seems like I'm missing, and listen with true grace and an effort to understand something. Then it's so much easier to make progress. Just so much easier, So, yeah, I think we'll wrap it up, Jack.
Yeah. So we'll check back in with you next week. Next week we have our Dreamweaver trainer on. Very excited about that. It went up, I don't remember how long ago. It's all a blur. But so we'll have our Dreamweaver trainer next week, and then I think we've got a couple of other videos that are going up soon. Rob and I did a webinar, and we recorded and edited it because it was 2 hours long, and we felt that people probably wouldn't watch an entire 2-hour video. So, yeah, you might, but I'm
Nothing
not
better than the sound of my own voice.
I'm not an action hero, so it wouldn't be that exciting. But anyway, so we'll have a bunch of videos up. Just check back at our YouTube and Facebook community page, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. And like and subscribe on the YouTube stuff so
Yes.
we can get that, whatever we get at 1,000 to make stuff easier for you guys. I
Yeah.
think we get to eliminate ads for free stuff for kids.
Yeah.
That's our goal. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Take it easy, everybody.